You wrote an essay of Vanity Fair. Let's come back to where we started, explaining that The Substance is a better trans film than Emilia Perez.
This is true. Most films are better trans films than Emilia Perez, I have to say.
Please welcome to the stage the author of Crooked Media's latest release, Woodworking. It's the wickedly talented Emily St. James. Come on out. Hi.
I'm good.
Welcome back. Good to see ya.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. Okay, now
I brought the book. It's a prop.
That's it. Let me see we got the book right here. We got to put it right there. So first of all, welcome.
Yes.
Good to see you.
It's good
Congrats
to be
on
here.
the book.
Yes, thank you.
John, Tommy, and I wrote a book with Josh. That was 4 people writing a book that did have pictures, and it basically destroyed us. Okay. So congrats. Anybody that writes a real book, holy shit. And I just want to tell you, I love the book.
Thank you.
I genuinely love the book. And I'll just be honest, like I was excited because when the proposal came, I thought about the politics first, sincerely.
Okay.
And I thought about the politics, and I was like, I love the politics of this book. I love the messages it has. I love you as a person. I'm interested. Let's do it. And then I read it, and I was like, oh my God, it's so fucking entertaining. It is such a good read. I really mean that. Everybody should go to crooked.com/books and buy Woodworking. It's an incredible novel. It is such a fun read. I promise you, the message is great. The politics of the book are great, but you won't care about that because it's an amazing story. And I just want to say that.
On the front right here, it says big-hearted and hilarious. And that they don't lie in those pull quotes, ever.
But I do want to so we're going to dive into the substance of it, but I just want to start by saying that truly it's just it could be a beach read. Sure. And it actually reminded me a lot of normal people, just in that it's I hope that's not an insulting comparison, but I think there's something, it's just, you'll really like it.
I knew when I went out with the book that it was going to be, it's a book about trans people, and people were going to hear that and they were going to be like, oh, this is going to be so heart-wrenching and boring, and I'm going to sit down. It's going to be like, finally, she put on the dress and saw herself as she truly was, unfolding like a flower before herself. And I was like, I don't want to fucking do that. And so I just did a lot of jokes. That was my strategy to overcome that. I just thought, what if it was funny and entertaining, and there were plots?
And it really is.
Thank you.
So now, look, this show is pretty gay. And we have a lot of amazing queer guests, and no lesbians, but everybody else, and always welcome. But we wanted to have you on as a writer and as a member of the larger Crooked family. But I struggle with this. I hate the idea of oh, we have a trans guest on, let's talk about trans issues.
Sure.
And we had Nori Reed on one show or 2 shows ago, and she was talking about that you just want to be a comedian, but you're a trans comedian, and so you have to be an activist. But this is a book about the trans experience, so let's talk about the trans experience. What is woodworking?
Woodworking is a term from the trans community in the 70s and 80s, which basically the idea was that you would transition and you would get to a point where you could pass as a cisgender person. You would cut off all contact with your past life, and you would disappear into a large city, and you would disappear into the woodwork, is how the term came to be. And there are a number of women who did this. I talked to several of them as I was working on the book. And they would have husbands, they would have whole lives where maybe their doctor knew that they were trans, and nobody else did. And so they were there having these quote unquote normal lives, and they had this secret eating away inside of them. And then as trans acceptance started to sort of creep toward the mainstream in the mid 2010s, more and more of them started to sort of share their stories, and some of them spoke with me. But there's still so many people who now are I'm just going to not talk about that for the obvious reasons. And it was really eating away at them inside.
Yeah, there's something in the book. There's because Abigail, who's the teen character, it's a little bit of fantasy for her. It's a lot of fantasy for her that she'll get to leave this world behind and just be a girl and be a woman.
Yeah, Abigail starts transitioning when she's 16, and when you start transitioning that young, you quote unquote pass very well. And so her idea is, right now I live in small town South Dakota. Abigail does. She lives in a town called Mitchell, and she's like, I'm going to leave there I'm going to go to Chicago or Minneapolis. I'm going to change my name or my last name, and I'm just going to live a life as this person. And it's a dream for her. And I think the book is, but that's like where you start her. And if you know how character arcs work, you know that she's going to like have that challenged across the course of the book. But it is kind of like her idea of a thing to do.
Well, there's the ways in which characters discover that that's impossible, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't, this is who you are. You can't run from who you are.
You can try though.
You can try.
I'm doing it right now.
You're doing it right now. Emilia Perez tried to do that. But that is a little bit the story. That is a little bit what Emilia Perez is trying to do. A movie we're not going to discuss. And unless you'd like to.
We can talk Emilia. Let's do it.
No. But a perfect film. But as I've said on this stage, a perfect, flawless film. But like what I was thinking about in reading it is that we spend so much time talking about trans tolerance and acceptance and fighting to a baseline of not being persecuted.
Right.
But what was interesting in just reading this story, which has from the perspective of two different trans people, both immature in their own ways, but one further along on their trans journey, the other further along in life's journey. And one of the characters is a teacher who's older when they're accepting themselves as being trans. Is you see kind of unacknowledged the beautiful aspects of being trans and the access it gives you to certain truths about gender that most people don't see. And I was wondering if you could talk about that.
We're living in an era when transness is largely understood as we've backslid to this point where it's understood as like a trick. You know, Ace Ventura at the end when the character is revealed to be a trans woman and everyone's like, she was really a man, and it's everyone throws up and it was a trick. We're now back to that in this like weird sort of dark way. A lot of this Tommy Tuberville, the world's smartest senator, was talking about how there's whole teams of boys dressed up as girls playing women's sports now, and that's not happening.
Right.
But it is like every single thing that people are talking about is like a bad Rodney Dangerfield movie from like 1998, and we're just stuck with it. And I think that people don't sort of fundamentally don't understand that like this is a joyful, beautiful thing that is just a normal way of being a human, and it's not something to be afraid of or something to feel is a trick or a fraud that's being pulled on you. It's just a type of human being, and like I'm hopeful that Tommy Tuberville will read my book and get past the first page.
And we have other ways of fixing politics that don't rely on that. I hope we have other plans.
No, the whole plan is everyone reads my book, and that fixes America.
Love It or Leave It is brought to you by Factor. Ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved, ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes, so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh, fully prepared. Perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. And we know you have an active, busy lifestyle.
We know it.
We know it. Now, it is my theory that there's a collective delusion that we're all busy, that there are some people who are busy,
yes, I've
but
heard
most people
this.
have 4 hours of fucking screen time, so you're
heard
just
this.
sort of fake busy. But even still, what do you want to do? You want to spend all day slaving over a stove, or you want to reheat something while watching your sweet, sweet TikToks?
Because that 2 minutes it takes to reheat something,
You can watch
get
so
a
many
lot of
TikToks.
toxin.
Get those TikToks
Get those
in the
ducks.
body. Get those TikToks in your brain. Lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor's keto meals based on a randomized controlled clinical trial with Factor Keto. Results will vary depending on diet and exercise, of course. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. They had keto-friendly cookies that I used to love.
I love.
Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Love Factor. Have you often had Factor? It's a great. You open up that, picking the meals is so fun. Then you arrive, you get this great choice of meals in your fridge. Makes life easy, makes life better. Eat smart with Factor. Get smart at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FactorPodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FactorPodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. One thing that made me think this just about like kind of if we get past acceptance, which obviously is a hard place to get to that we're not at. Erica, the teacher is just desperate for a female friend, just like a normal female friendship. And what I thought when I was reading this, like, in the eyes of this character, she's desperate for a female friend because she's discovered she is trans. But you realize, just like, my God, how many straight men would benefit from having a female friend, and that these straight men and these straight women, cisgender in this world, are so hidden from each other.
Yeah, there's a sense where Erica, who was living as a straight man, air quotes, for so much of her life, like, would start to be friends with a woman, and then this wall would go up between them, and would be like, and this happened to me as well. It was, it feels like there's a thing that's happening here that I'm not entirely sure what it is, and I'm scared you're going to make it weird, basically. And I would always be like, no, I don't want to make it weird. I just want to be your best friend forever. I'm just going to like lean in right here and let's hang out and go shopping together. And they'd be like, no, thank you. And then the second I came out, they were like, oh, that's what that was. Okay. And then like, that switch flipped, and it didn't happen with every person I knew, but I sort of did want to capture that experience of like being honest with yourself lets other people see you in a way that can let them accept you.
Yeah, but just the other part of it too is just the there's a scene where Erica is trying on a dress and is kind of overwhelmed by the experience and talking to her ex-wife. And the ex-wife is a bit like, oh, you didn't like how you looked in a dress and it made you feel bad about yourself? Yeah. That's us every day. And the kind of like I've thought about this myself as somebody that has often struggled to know the difference between dysmorphia and dysphoria.
Sure.
And that's something that this character grapples with a lot. I'm just curious, like, if you could just talk a little bit about that, because there's a way in which in that scene, I thought it gets at something, again, that I think transness exposes, which is this trans character who is still presenting more as a man, wants to feel beautiful, looks at herself, doesn't feel beautiful. Yeah. And it's hard to tell where the gender dysphoria, the being in the wrong, feeling as though you're in the wrong body, ends, and just the brutal experience of just being a woman begins.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing I hope everyone in the world can relate to in this book, it's that having a body is weird and bad, and we should not have to do it. I do think that part of why transness upsets some people so much is that it's like we are saying having a body is weird and we can do something about that. And people are like, no, we are just here to suffer this body that we are put into. And I do hope that I want this book to sort of show people the ways in which living a life that's more honest and more open can be beneficial to you and to everyone around you, even if there's pain and fear at the start. And that applies to literally everybody on the planet right now.
Right. Yeah. And I do think that's part of what threatens people so much. Yeah. And it does it on the axis of just having a body, but also just in Trump said this in his State of the Union, and it's quite a trick that they're trying to pull. And I've heard some people on the right try to pull this, which is, on the one hand, they have these incredibly rigid notions of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. But then when all of a sudden someone says they're trans, they say, oh, you're being convinced by the left that there's a wrong way to be a boy or a wrong way to be a girl. And actually, you think that being trans means that actually you need to change your gender, but really we just need a more expansive definition of what this gender is. And those things those are in contradiction, obviously. Yeah. But they're not wrong. That what they're getting at, what their own internal contradictions can't resolve, is transness does challenge some fundamental ideas about gender, and it is an interplay of culture and biology.
Yeah. One thing I find, Pat Robertson, the 700 Club guy, a totally rancid, horrible human being.
May his memory be a blessing.
He and right up until Obergefell, the marriage equality decision, was saying Well, obviously, trans people, gender dysphoria is real, and we need to treat it. And the best way to treat it is transition. You can find clips of him saying this in early 2015. Obergefell comes out mid 2015. By the end of that year, he's flipped around and has been like, well, we have to get rid of trans people. It's that transparent how quickly they flipped the strategy as soon as marriage equality came through. It's a way to drive a wedge between trans people and all queer people to slowly start wearing away at the broader acceptance of queerness. And it's really cynical.
Yeah, I think because like I'm in a relationship with a trans person, and it's like I still see myself as gay, but according to the Trump administration, I'm in a heterosexual relationship. But of course, I'm not.
I think we're both becoming straighter by the second because I'm married to a woman, but there are no lesbians on this show. So it's like I'm getting tugged in that direction.
Well, right, yeah, that's a good. But yeah, I mean, but according to the Trump administration,
yeah,
we're American as apple fucking pie. You recently wrote. This is what I wanted to ask you about. You wrote an essay at Vanity Fair. Let's come back to where we started, explaining that The Substance is a better trans film than Emilia Perez.
This is true. Most films are better trans films than Emilia Perez, I have to say. Yeah, The Substance is a movie that is not unlike the novel Woodworking by Emily St. James, available at crooked.com/books. It is a book about when I first came out to myself and really started examining my gender. I had a 13-year-old girl who'd been locked up in the back of my brain because I was like, I'm not going to listen to you. And she woke up and she was like, hey, let's go sleep over at our best friend's, and then we're going to like prank call boys and it's going to be fun. I was like, I am in my 30s and I have a job and a marriage, so we're not going to do that. And she was like, it's no fun. So I was like both the like rebellious teenage daughter and her mother at the same time. And The Substance is kind of about that because it's about this woman who essentially gives birth to a much younger, hotter version of herself who's her, but also not her. And that just captured something so fundamental to me about like waking up one morning and being an adult who nevertheless has this much younger person who's like trying to get your attention and like having to like sort of synthesize those two things. In The Substance, those two things are synthesized very well. Nothing bad happens, and there's not a giant monster that explodes in blood.
That's also not. I mean, that's a gay. I mean, I think there's a lot. But no, but it is a very gay. Yeah. It is a very a lot of gay guys go through a kind of a late adolescence. They go through kind of like they go nuts in their 20s or whenever they come out because they like I didn't go to my prom. I missed the whole the kind of high school experience. And you do actually see in the novel that Erica has some jealousy towards Abigail, who despite feeling put upon in all the ways she really is, sort of struggling, does get a part of what every girl wants in high school that someone like Erica or a lot of queer people don't get.
She gets to kiss the cute boy.
Yeah.
If Abigail's story is like if she isn't trans, it's just the punk girl who the jock falls in love with. And like that is the thing that Erica's 35. She's not going to get to have that. She's not going to magically suddenly wake up and be 16 again. And that's good. I think that probably we shouldn't be 16 again. Sounds not fun, but it is also very sad sometimes if you're queer and have to like cope with the fact that you have only become yourself as an adult.
Yeah, and it does terrify, I think, the right to imagine a world where those queer kids just get to be kids. And they're wrong.
Yeah.
Emily, thank you so much. Everybody, please go to crooked.com/books. Pick up Woodworking. It's also available on an audiobook. If you download the audiobook, you may notice that the character's name that they used as a man is beeped out. Your audible is not broken.
Yeah, it's a deliberate choice. It's also in the book. So
yeah. Also, if you're in the audience, we're selling copies after the show, so you can pick up a copy here.
I'll sign it for you too. I'll sign it for you.
Oh, Emily will sign it. That was great.